Hello people, in this video let us look at chain of infection. So basically this is about communicable diseases. Hello people, in this video let's look at this chain of infection. Basically this is coming under dynamics of disease transmission. So communicable diseases, they are transmitted from where to where? From the source, right? From the source or reservoir to the susceptible host, obviously via the mode of transmission. So here you have the source or reservoir and here you have the susceptible host. So what is there in source or reservoir? The disease causing agent. Agent is there in the source or reservoir and via the mode it is going to reach the susceptible host. So here you have the susceptible host. Remember, this is, here we are not talking about agent, right? Here we are talking about source or reservoir which contains the agent. In epidemiological triad you have agent, right, host and environment. Agent, host and environment, and then you have time there. But here it's slightly different. Here you have susceptible host, the agent is within the source or reservoir, and here you have the mode of transmission, okay? So it's kind of similar, but here instead of agent, they are referring to source or reservoir which contains the agent, okay? Now, so what is source, what is reservoir? Source will be the immediate source of the agent. Reservoir is where the biological agent can multiply, etc. So the reservoir, please focus here on the definition of reservoir. Reservoir is anything, okay, anything in which an infectious agent lives. It lives in this reservoir and it multiplies there, and it depends on the reservoir for survival, okay? It depends on the reservoir for survival. Source is the immediate source of infection, okay? So now let us look at source or reservoir. Here you have in reservoir homologous reservoir and heterologous reservoir. So homologous means it will be man to man. Heterologous means it will be man to other species. So many types of reservoirs. So basically for reservoir source there are three things that you have to know. You have human, animal and non-living. So human reservoir, then you have animal reservoir, and then you have non-living things. Three things you have to remember under source and reservoir, okay? Humans, animals and non-living things. So under humans you have cases. So what type of cases? You have cases and carriers actually, okay? And you have what and all under humans? You have cases and carriers, okay? So what do you have under humans? You have two things here, cases and carriers. Under cases you have clinical cases, subclinical cases, latent cases. Clinical means they have been diagnosed, they show symptoms. Subclinical, they are not yet diagnosed. Latent, so the infectious agent will be dormant within the host, right, and without any symptoms. Then you have something called as primary case, secondary case and index case. Primary case is the first case of the communicable disease. Secondary case will be the contacts of the primary case, and index case will be the first case that gets reported or comes to the attention of the investigator, okay? So you have primary case, secondary case, index case. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a source or reservoir, right? In that we have humans, animals and non-living things. Under humans you have again cases and carriers. Cases we finished now. Cases, what will you write? Clinical, subclinical, latent, primary and other terminologies which are there. Primary case, secondary case, index case, etc. Now let's move on to carriers. Carriers can be incubatory carriers, convalescent carriers, healthy carriers. Incubatory carriers means they are going to spread this disease causing agent before they themselves get the symptoms, right? They are under the incubation period. So they have caught the agent, they have not yet showed the symptoms, but at this time itself they are spreading the disease to others. So example for this will be like measles, mumps, etc. So convalescent carriers, basically these are people who are going to shed the disease after they themselves recover. In the healing time they will shed the disease causing agent like typhoid, dysentery. So those persons would have recovered, but in their feces, urine there can be the agent like typhoid, dysentery, etc. Healthy carriers, these people have no symptoms at all, right? But they will be spreading the infection. This can happen in polio, cholera, meningitis, meningococcal meningitis, salmonellosis, diphtheria, etc. So that is about carriers, one type of classification. There's one more type of classification in carriers called temporary carriers, chronic carriers. Temporary means for a fixed, some duration they will shed the agent, other times they don't. Coming to chronic you have, for a long period of time, they're going to spread the disease, like typhoid, hepatitis B and all. For a long time, they're going to be spreading the disease. That will be chronic carriers. A terminology here called pseudo carrier. These are carrying the avirulent organism. So they are carriers of something, but what? Avirulent organism. So this doesn't even matter. It's not a disease causing agent. So in carrier, you have a port of exit. The exit will be urinary, intestinal, respiratory, nasal, blood, right? Port of exit. See, any host, right? Host will have port of entry, site, and then port of exit. So port of exit will matter for a case and for a carrier. For both it will matter. Now coming to the second one. Now in where are we? In the source of source or reservoir, we have finished human. Now we'll go to animal. Animal, basically, if it's coming from animals, they will call it as, the diseases are zoonosis. Example, you have rabies, influenza, you have what? Bird flu, swine flu and all that. So the animal can be a reservoir, right? You understood humans being reservoir, animals being reservoir. So animals being reservoir, rabies, influenza, etc. For humans being the reservoir, what diseases did you learn? Hepatitis B, typhoid, etc. Right? Those are the good cases. Now last, after this, in reservoir, you have non-living things. Non-living things you have like soil, right, and feces, urine. All these will be the source or reservoir. Now let us look at this. Non-living things, basically hookworm, the source is soil, okay. The reservoir is human, but the source is soil. So you will get the hookworm from the soil, the immediate source of infection. In tetanus, both the source and reservoir are same. It will be soil. So you will get tetanus, Clostridium tetani from soil, okay. For typhoid also very similar to hookworm. Basically reservoir is man, but you will get it from the immediate source of infection will be feces or urine, okay. So look at this in non-living things. We are looking at non-living things now. Source soil for hookworm, soil for tetanus, and feces and urine for typhoid, okay. Reservoir is human for hookworm. Reservoir is human for man. Tetanus, man is not going to be a reservoir. So man is really not so bothersome in tetanus. Now we are done with source and reservoir, right? We are done with source and reservoir, guys. What did we read in this? Source or reservoir, we saw three things: human and animal and non-living things. Under human, we saw cases and carriers. So many types of cases we saw: clinical, subclinical, latent. Carriers we saw incubatory, convalescent, healthy carriers. Then animals, what did we saw? We just saw some examples: zoonosis, rabies, etc. Non-living things, we saw three examples like hookworm. Soil is the source. Then for tetanus, again soil, and then for typhoid, feces and urine, okay. Now let us move on to modes of transmission. Modes of transmission, guys, here you have two things: direct and indirect, okay. Under direct, let us see what and all are there. Under direct, we have direct contact, like just look at the headings here: direct contact, droplet infection, contact with soil, inoculation into skin and mucosa, transplacental. Transplacental is also direct, from the mother to the fetus. Then in indirect, what and all you have? 5 F's: flies, fingers, fomites, food, fluid, okay. So basically, they can be the agent can come vehicle bone, vector bone, airborne, fomite bone, and unclean hands, okay. You have these many. So in mode of infection, we have only two: direct and indirect, okay. So now let us look at direct. Direct contact with another person who has this disease, like AIDS, leprosy, eye infection, skin infection. So from direct contact, we will get the disease. Droplet infection means like common cold, tuberculosis, right? You can talk about corona, etc. Now contact with soil, hookworm, right? You already saw this, hookworm. So hookworm will be a direct. Inoculation into skin or mucosa. So you have rabies, hepatitis B. So this is also, they're saying it is, though actually the dog bites you and you get the rabies, they're saying it is direct mode of transmission. Inoculation into skin or mucosa. Transplacental is from mother to fetus. Vertical transmission. So you have torch, that is toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalovirus, hepatitis B, AIDS. Teratogens also are disease causing agents that can come from mother to fetus. Okay, so see, if mosquito bites you, it is vector transmission, it's indirect. But if dog bites you, it is direct. So you need to understand some logic here. So now in modes of transmission, direct we have seen, We have to move to indirect. Under direct, what did we see? Direct contact, inoculation, rabies, then droplet infection, then direct, what was it? Direct, yeah, contact with soil like hookworm. Transplacental is also direct. From mother to fetus is direct. Okay, now let us move on to indirect. Indirect, you have 5 F's: flies, fingers, fomites, food and fluid, right? So you have vehicle, bone. In vehicle, bone, look at the vehicles. You have water, food, blood and organs. Some people who take organ transplant, organ itself can become a vehicle. So water, food, blood, organ, these are some vehicles you can remember. Water, food, what will they bring for you? Staphylococcus aureus, typhoid, polio, hepatitis A, parasites. All these can come to you from water, food. Malaria, syphilis, hepatitis B can come to you from blood. Organ transplant can bring a lot of other things. Now coming to vector bone. So vector bone, you have invertebrates and vertebrates. So under invertebrates, you have flies, mosquitoes, ticks, lice, cyclops. Vertebrates, you have mice, rodents, bats. So mice means what disease? Plague, leptospirosis, bats, corona, etc. Now coming to vector, another type of classification is there, mechanical, biological. Mechanical, like flies, they go from feces to food, food to feces, they vomit. They just are mechanical carriers. Biological, they help in development or replication or both. Inside them, they will help these agents to undergo replication or development. So you have some other terminologies here called transovarial, transstadial. What is transovarial transmission? Basically, transovarial transmission is within the vector from the mother to the progeny. That is transovarial. That is within the vector they are telling. Transstadial is it takes the agent from one stage of life cycle to another stage of life cycle. That is transstadial. So all these points come under vector bone mode of transmission. Then we are going to airborne. So this is indirect. Okay, here they are talking about droplet nuclei, not droplet infection, but droplet nuclei. So droplet nuclei is nothing but the dried residue of droplets. So there are droplets, the dried residue of droplets are droplet nuclei. So these will transmit what? These can transmit tuberculosis, influenza, chickenpox, measles, even air pollutants are coming under droplet nuclei. Interesting. Remember, for droplet infection also we mentioned almost the same diseases, right? I think we have the same diseases for droplet infection also. Now coming under airborne, you have dust. Wow. Dust TB can spread via dust. Interesting. Q fever, yes, dust. Q fever we have studied already, right? Dust. Hospital acquired infections, that is nosocomial infections, are usually by dust. Wow. Dust will give nosocomial infection. Interesting. Okay, let's move on to fomite bone and unclean hands, the last two in the indirect mode of transmission. Fomite bone, like towels, handkerchiefs, these can spread diphtheria, typhoid, eye and skin infections. Okay, eye and skin infections, I think you won't forget. Remember, diphtheria, typhoid also. Unclean hands also transmit disease. This is indirect transmission. Most common media is hand. Our hand spreads so many bacteria, staph, strep, typhoid, hepatitis A. Hepatitis A, remember, hepatitis A is food, mode of transmission is food, fecal-oral. But hepatitis B is blood, right? So hepatitis A can come from unclean hands, fingers, etc. That's why cooks, etc. they should get tested for this hepatitis A. So did you understand that we are done now with mode of transmission? Mode of transmission, we finished direct and indirect. Let's take a recap. So mode of transmission, we saw direct. Then we saw indirect. Under indirect, now we have seen vehicle bone, vector bone, airborne, fomites, and lastly we saw hands, unclean hands. Now let us move to susceptible host. Susceptible host. This is, here they have just given some terminologies. Let's look at that. Susceptible host, like, so there are things here like successful parasitism, incubation period, latent period, serial interval, generation time, communicable period, secondary attack rate. Some specific terminologies are there here. Let's look at this. Successful parasitism needs a port of entry, site of election, port of exit. So like from where it will enter. Now let's say fecal-oral route means where it will go via his mouth, then it will find some nice place to replicate, live and all that, like the intestine. Finally, the port of exit can be the feces, right? So what and all does the successful parasite need? It needs a port of entry. It needs a site of election, again E here, 3 E's, and it needs a port of exit, another E here. Okay, successful parasitism. Now coming to incubation period, latent period. Incubation period usually is for a invasion of an infectious agent. There's invasion of an infectious agent and the appearance of the symptom. So from when this man got infected, right, till when he shows symptoms. That is the incubation period. What is latent period? Latent period is used for non-infectious diseases like cancer, heart disease, mental illness, etc. So incubation period is for communicable, latent period is for non-infectious diseases. In incubation period, you have something called as a median incubation period. This is the time required for 50% of the cases to get the disease. The time required for 50% of the cases to get the disease once they have been exposed. Okay. Okay, now let us look at the importance of this incubation period. Okay, incubation period basically, it will help for us to know from how many days back this guy met somebody or etc. Right? So you will be able to trace the source. Then you will also be able to know period of surveillance, how long to keep him in quarantine, etc. And you will also know about immunization. If you know the incubation period, it will help us prevent clinical illness by human immunoglobulins and antisera. Okay, then identification, you can, in an epidemic, etc., you can identify the point source or propagated epidemics. Okay, then you can also find the prognosis. Sometimes incubation period can be related to prognosis, that is the recovery. Okay, now let us move on to serial interval. Serial interval, we are looking at what? Susceptible host. In that we are looking at period of interval. Can we make this go down? Yeah. Okay, serial interval. So what is serial interval? The gap in the time between onset of the primary case and the secondary case is called serial interval. So this is between the primary case, gap between primary case and secondary case. Secondary cases are contacts of the primary case, remember. So that will give you the serial interval. What is generation time? Generation time is the interval of time between receipt of infection and the maximal infectivity of that host. So it will be like time for maximal infectivity, right? So like you, the agent enters today and you start showing symptoms after 10 days. Okay, so the agent enters today and you start showing symptoms after 10 days. But the peak of your infection will be after, let's say, 15 days. So this will become the generation time, 15 days, right? The maximum infectivity, the peak. So between that and the entry of the agent will be the generation time. Now let us move on to communicable period. The time during which the infectious agent may be transferred directly or indirectly from the infected person to another person is the communicable period. So basically it is the time that he is going to spread the disease to others. So that will be communicable period. What is secondary attack rate? Secondary attack rate is the number of exposed people, okay, who are going to get the disease within incubation period. So let us say here you have a primary case, right? And these people are his contacts. So all these people are exposed, right? Now out of these people, let us say these many people get the disease. So now all these peoples are secondary cases, right? So secondary attack rate is the number of exposed persons developing the disease within the incubation period. So the secondary attack rate is the number of people who are exposed, who are going to develop the disease within the incubation period. So that's about secondary attack rate. So some specific parameters are there here. When it comes to host, there is a lot more that you can talk about. Okay, you can talk about immunization, host defense mechanisms, treatment, everything, risks, everything. You can talk about a lot of things about host. You can just add all that. Okay. So we saw susceptible host. We saw some specific terminologies. What did we see? Successful parasitism, then generation time, secondary attack rate. What else did we see? Secondary attack rate, then incubation period, latent period, serial interval, generation time, Generation, generate the maximum infectivity, that is generation time. Then you have communicable period, secondary attack rate. Okay, so let's stop here. We have finished chain of infection in communicable diseases, source or reservoir to the susceptible host. It should go like this, via the mode of transmission, source or reservoir to the susceptible host.